Hello students and welcome to another lesson with Mr. Culp. Today we are going to be reviewing topics and themes, so let's get started. Before we start, of course, just a reminder, it is okay to be who you are. It is okay to make mistakes. It's how we learn. It's okay to have bad days. We all have them. It's okay to be less than perfect. I'm far from it. It's okay to do what's best for you because you are the one who you should be taking care of, and it's okay to be yourself. Now, this doesn't mean that we do this at the expense of others, but know that these things are all okay, and during this time of the pandemic, these are all going to happen. We're going to make mistakes. We're going to have bad days. We're going to be less than perfect. And it's okay to sometimes say, I need some me time. I got to take care of myself right now. All right, so let's get started with the lesson. So the goals for today are to understand the difference between a topic and a theme. They're very different. To read a text and determine the topic, we're going to be referring back to our common text, Thank You Ma'am. If you have not read that, please take the time to do so. We're going to be analyzing a text to determine a theme. And we are going to be able to support our themes with textual evidence, because whenever we want to say anything and justify that we are right, we need to make sure we have textual evidence to back us up. So our we can statements for today is we can identify the topic of a text, we can identify a theme of a text and support it with textual evidence, and of course we can effectively take notes. Just as always, I'll have some stopping points to show you what my notes look like, and you can copy them, or as we go through, you can take your own notes. So let's get started. What is a topic? That is a great question. So a topic is what a text is about. It's just what it's about. Now, this can be a phrase or a word, and it's important to know whenever we're reading a text, whether it be song lyrics, whether it be a book, it can apply to a movie, but when it comes to topic, just like theme, and we'll talk about that later, there can be more than one in a text. So let's say, for example, that we just read an amazing romance text. It was about a boy and a girl who fell in love because they were working at a recycling plant together. And through their conversations, they both realized that they had a passion for saving the earth and recycling, and they fell in love. But then something happened that maybe tore them apart momentarily, but they realized that that little thing that happened wasn't a big deal, and they could forgive each other, and their love blossomed and moved forward. I know, you all want to watch this movie, right? So in that example of a story, some of the topics that came up were love, were recycling. We could talk about the importance of recycling probably through their conversation, and forgiveness, because they had to forgive each other. So these are some topics that came up. Okay, so those are topics. Topics can be a phrase or one word that just kind of captures what things were happening in the text that are of importance. So let's take this and apply it to Thank You Ma'am. Think about Thank You Ma'am. What topics did the author Langston Hughes cover in that short story? And of course, always think about the text that supports your answer. So if you'd like to pause and think about that, go ahead and do so. Welcome back. So when I think about Thank You Ma'am, some of the topics that come to my head are, of course, stealing. The boy in the very beginning tries to steal her purse, so there is a topic about stealing. Forgiveness. In the end, we realize that Mrs. Luella Bates Washington Jones did not hold a grudge and forgave Roger for trying to steal her purse. Along the same line as compassion, she showed him compassion by bringing him home and even giving him money to buy his own blue suede shoes. And so we also see the topic of kindness going on in the story. We see the kindness in Mrs. Luella Bates Washington Jones. She's rough around the edges, but she is kind to Roger. Did you come up with any more? If you did, make sure that you can support them with evidence from the text. Now, when I supported with evidence from the text this time, I just kind of summarized events from the text. We'll talk later on how you're going to pull a direct line from the text to support your analysis of theme when we get to it. But I'm going to pause here and show you my notes thus far in case you would like to see how I've taken notes. All right, now let's talk about theme. So, theme and topic are very different, but they're often confused. A theme will never be one word or a small phrase because a theme is a universal idea or lesson or a message explored throughout a work of literature. And just like a topic, a text can have multiple themes it explores. So, one of the easiest ways to kind of think about theme is to ask yourself, what is the author saying about a specific topic that is occurring in the text or the medium that you are watching? It could be a movie, it could be listening to a song, etc. So when you ask yourself, what is the author saying about that topic specifically? So go back to our story earlier when we said it was the love story about the two people who fall in love over recycling. So if we chose that topic of recycling, what is the author saying about that topic? Is he saying it's important, it's not important? Is he saying that everyone should care, that some people should care? So what is the author really trying to get at? So it's important to remember that that theme is a sentence. It's never one word. That's the topic, remember. It does not include character names because remember, it's a universal idea, meaning that it can apply to anyone or any text. So if we were talking about a theme of thank you, ma'am, we wouldn't say that the theme is Roger can be given forgiveness if he just keeps his nose clean. Like that doesn't apply to the universe, okay? So we'll talk more about that when we jump back into thank you, ma'am. So some examples of themes that you maybe have seen before is if the topic was love, the theme might have been love can help guide us in our toughest moments if we let it. Okay, so let's go ahead and think about thank you, ma'am. So thinking about thank you, ma'am, what themes did the author Langston Hughes have and explore in this story? And then as always, think about what text will support your answer. So you can pause it here to think, and then once you hit play, I'm going to talk through some of my thoughts, which as always, there are a variety of topics and themes that can be found, and we connect to stories in different ways, so yours might be different, but let's go ahead and look at it. All right, so let's think about thank you, ma'am. So I'm going to use the topic of kindness. So one of the topics that happened in Thank You, Ma'am was the importance of kindness. So what is Langston Hughes saying about kindness? Mrs. Llewellyn Bates Washington Jones shows Roger kindness and never asks for anything in return. He, Roger, made a mistake by trying to steal from her, and she used that opportunity to teach him a lesson to not steal, that he could always ask, that he could always rely on the kindness of others. So when I kind of formulate that, remember, I don't want to use specific characters because a theme should be something that applies to outside of the book and to maybe other movies or to other texts. So I think when it comes to my theme, I could write, sometimes people make mistakes and just need someone to show them kindness and love to set them on a better path. And here are my notes for theme if you would like to pause and take similar notes or go back and watch and take different notes. So that's it. That's theme. Now, of course, it took me a while to kind of craft that and think about that. This isn't something that's just going to pop right into your head. So it's okay to take time and think these through. So we're going to practice this in a variety of ways, using a variety of texts, but you have a Google Slides that will be pushed out to you that looks like this. There's a directions page and then the graphic organizer page where you're going to capture your thoughts. So for instance, for Thank You, Ma'am, we talked about the topic of the importance of kindness. And then my theme was sometimes people make mistakes and just need someone to show them kindness and love to set them on a better path. That's why we always reread. I missed the A. And now down here, we're going to cite a line or summarize an event that supports your theme. Now, sometimes you can go, oh, I got the perfect line right here. It says, when they finished eating, she got up and said, now here, take this $10 and buy yourself some blue suede shoes. And next time, do not make the mistake of latching onto my pocketbook or nobody else's. That's a great line. I could cite that. It's directly from my text. So of course I would put quotes around it, just like we have learned about citing. And sometimes there's not just that one awesome line that I could just cite because it's threaded throughout so I can summarize the events. So instead of using that one direct line, I might say, in the beginning, Roger tried to steal from Mrs. Luella Bates Washington Jones, and instead of calling the police or turning him in, she showed him kindness and compassion by taking him home, feeding him, and giving him $10 to buy shoes. Both of those are correct and accurate ways of justifying your theme with evidence or a summary from the text. So I hope this video helps. I hope this makes sense. And that is our little lesson on topics and themes.